I found that, I started to search on social media the word multiracial, mixed, because it opened my mind that it exists, you know. Mm-hmm. Then I found a page called Multiracial Matters, and then Biracial Experience, Biracial Lounge, and then I found Mulatto Vanguard, and I followed and started to see the videos and see, oh my god, we are in different countries, but we are thinking the same, and it was very interesting to me. I feel very, it made me stronger, you know. It made me feel brave to talk about it. It was that. Now it did.
For sure. That's good to hear. Yeah, I mean, that's my whole message. My whole goal basically is to build community and give people courage, inspire people to speak up, to be your best advocate, because, you know, other people, I feel like they want to maintain the status quo, and they kind of, people have their set ways and agendas and kind of guidelines, but where is our code of conduct? I say our, like, you know, mulattoes or multiracial people in general, like, where's our code of conduct? Where are our rules? Like, we cannot walk around in society without having dignity or having any pride. We can't allow people to push agendas on us and to position us as if, because there's people, I'll say briefly before I move on to the next question, that it's very interesting. In the United States, there's a lot of people on the black side and on the white side where they have extreme philosophies where they literally say, my whole existence is like used against them, or that like I'm part of an agenda. Some weird shit. You know, I hate to, you know, curse and say that, but it's very weird. Like, I'm just existing in this world, and I demand respect, and I'm going to earn my respect, but I'm going to walk with dignity in this world, wherever I'm at. And it's just, some people want to kind of deny us of that personhood. And that's something that's a challenge. But moving on to the next question I got here. Interesting. So, you know, a lot of us as Americans, United States people, we often over kind of generalize and perceive Brazilians to be all mixed, when as we know, it's not true. But that's kind of the general thing. I wanted to add this as well. I remember doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a few years ago, several years, and one of my buddies, we're still friends today. He's a white American guy, I think Irish background, Irish and German. But it's funny, like, we were just training, and one of our other training partners, who's a Mexican American Chicano guy, we were talking, because a lot of Brazilians, you know, we practice Jiu-Jitsu, but a lot of Brazilians are very good fighters, very good Jiu-Jitsu fighters, and in the UFC, stuff like that. So we were talking about one particular guy who's very famous, and at that time, he was like the reigning champion. His name is Anderson Silva. Anderson the Spider Silva. I believe he's from Curitiba, Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. But he's a very dark-skinned guy, bald like me, dark skin, right? Mostly just black. You know, it doesn't really look mixed to me. He could be, I don't know. But we were talking with my friends there in training, and the white guy was basically saying, oh, well, Anderson Silva, he's Brazilian, he's not black. And I'm bringing that up now to think to myself, remember, it's like, it's interesting. It's like, you can be black, dark skin. Like, Anderson Silva has the same skin complexion as Michael Jordan. They're both bald. You could put them both side by side. They kind of look the same, their phenotype, but because Anderson Silva's Brazilian, there's even white Americans and Latino Americans. I had another friend, a Chicano, who made another comment saying that, oh, well, he's Brazilian, he's not black, it's different. So I'm sitting there, the racial thing's very weird, because people kind of just make up the rules as they go along. And they'll pick and choose, like, who's a part of what group and that group. And I'm just bringing that up because it's very interesting. I would have to ask my friend about that and get further clarification for why he thought this individual is like, oh, he's Brazilian, he's not black. I mean, I'm guessing he's probably saying, well, he's not black American or something, which is obvious. He's a Brazilian guy. But I don't know. I don't know if the question, it's not really a question. It was just a statement, because it's just, it's mind-boggling. I wanted to bring it up since I have you here, and also my audience, if they're listening, they can put a comment to provide some clarification, because it's weird, like with this one-drop rule shit, where they'll look at a mixed person like a Zendaya or something and say, oh, she's black. But then they'll look at someone who's from another country like Anderson Silva, who's very dark-skinned, African phenotype, and they'll say, well, he's Brazilian. He's not. It's like, what? Like, there's no consistency. So, interesting.
Let me talk a bit about that. This is related to the imperialism.
Sure. Yeah.
Imperialism in United States. This mentality is related to American domination in the world. North American domination in the world. Because they think the white people in America, they think our people that are white here in Brazil, they are not white. They think only they are white. But white, it seems that you are white. Race systems is about appearance and where you came from. And we have here in Brazil people who came from Europe and they are white. But how United States dominate the language, they are nowadays
the philosophies also.
The philosophies, they say white is just them, and black, the black people started to think about that. You said that it was a white guy that said that, but black Afro-Americans, they say that too. They say that Latin Americans, Afro-Latin, they aren't black, and they are black. So I think they are distorting the reality just to make their experience be superior from us, because they have this sense of superiority, and I think it is a mistake, because being Brazilian, it means you born in Brazil, and it doesn't say what race you are. It say the place that you live. It's totally different. The concept of race and the concept that where you born. In the United States, you have a lot of different races, but they are all Americans, But have this culture that say the original American are just who are descended from British people, and this is imperialism. This is colonialism, So Anderson Silva is black here. He's totally black, and without questions,
You know who he is, right?
Yeah. He's very famous. I know.
So obviously a couple other questions. Before I get into one of the main ones was about the pro-black phase, which a lot of us multiracial people, mixed people have been through that phase. We went through the pro-black phase. But before I get into that, talk a little bit more about the Pardo movement, and what do you want to see from the Pardo movement moving forward with your work, and perhaps looking at other influencers and content creators? Where would you like to see the movement, the collective consciousness of Pardos go towards, say, the next 5 or 10 years? And also on that, where do you see the Pardo movement going? What are some of the main difficulties getting other Pardo people on the same page or working together? So where do you see it going in the future, and what are the difficulties with Pardo people working together?
Let me see. We have a lot of work to do here in Brazil, and thinking about Pardo movement, because we don't have pride. We are one part of our life we want to be white, and now we want to be black, to be accepting this movement. We don't have representation, and now we have a law that say that we are black, and this law was created in 2010.
Wow.
2010. So they created that, and we have to change that. And I believe my study with friends that I started to researching about that in academy and agreeing with me, the first time we have to do is change this law. But people think that why I want to change this law, I want to break, to finish the rights we have now with this law, because this is the same law that reserve places in university and in the companies to black and mixed people, are the same law. But I'm trying to explain to society that we can give these places, that we can make this politics without say that we are black. but nowadays people just don't understand that. They think that I am trying to separate people. So we have a long way, a long road to people understand what I'm talking, because they don't understand. The most part of people don't understand. They're thinking that I am bringing something from the past to say Brazil is mixed, so it doesn't matter racial discussion here because everybody's mixed, so never don't talk about that. And I think I have this road people really understand. I am writing a book, and I think this book will change a lot of things, because people will really, they will
It'll connect with your message. Yeah.
They will read what I say and understand what I'm thinking, what I'm proposing, with this storytelling very good, since the start, and they will see that I understand what they are trying to do, that I studied what they were trying to do, and that I'm not against them. I'm just trying to bring something new to how can I say this word? Something to improve, not to fight against them. I want to improve the theories. I want to bring more perspectives, but I understand the history of Black movement, the how what they do matter to our reality, and how we really have this. That was a good thing that now we have this law, because we have the reservation of the places to Black and
I see.
And mixed people, So the book will change a lot of things, and I think that one day what arrives, it will be translated to other countries, and that we will, not just in Brazil but in the world, really build this mixed consciousness,
Yeah.
The other question was what? I forgot.
Yeah, basically you answered the question, both of them. I mean, basically, where do you see the movement going forward? And you basically already said you just want to raise the consciousness. Your book will help inspire people, but also I asked the difficulties getting other Pardo people kind of working together on the same page. It seems like you guys are already working. I'll just add. Seems like a lot of the Pardo people, from my observation, are already working together very effectively. Like, I'm in a group, a Facebook group, shout out to them, and they're a Pardo Mestizo Facebook group, and they seem to be working together really fine. So there's already a lot of cohesion I see, and I don't speak Portuguese, so a little bit learning, but I have to translate everything, all the text there on Facebook. But they invited me into the group, and so I'm observing some of their kind of arguments and what their dialogues and stuff. So it's very interesting. So I do see a lot of Pardos, they're working together, especially with her. She's like their main influencer, giving people a voice, which is really great. And so yeah, I was just saying, because you're more well acquainted with your work thing. So from your perspective, do you see any difficulties with other Pardo people working together? Before I hand you the mic, I'll give my example of mulattoes in America, where I see the difficulties, with mulattoes working together. Because I've been doing this type of content for a couple of years now, I think 2022, if I'm not mistaken, is when I officially kind of started with the branding and just, speaking my voice. And so with us mulatto Americans, there's kind of a lack of code and cohesion. A lot of mulatto Americans are, once they find this type of content, my content and others, they are kind of having a shatter of their psyche. They're re-questioning their reality. Their brain is getting kind of calibrated with all the mental circuitry, because they've been programmed to identify as Black. They've been hoodwinked and coerced, to identify as Black, and then they see Black people pushing them out of their circles. They want to get closer to Black people and identify with them, their culture, and Black people are pushing them out. So a lot of mulattoes are in this awkward kind of quandary, this situation, and they don't know where to go. And they see a guy like me, they're like, oh, they dig what I'm saying, they like what I'm saying, but then they're like, well, I don't like your delivery, or I don't like you because of this, and that, how you look. But they have a hard time dealing with the message. So a guy like me, I brought a lot of people to the table to giving people a voice. I have older people, older mulattoes who are inspired by me, which is beautiful. I love it. But I do see that there is definitely some challenges with getting mulattoes working together because this is a fairly new rising consciousness. We see all these prominent mulattoes in media and politics, etc. But there's still too many of us. I'd say the majority of us mulatto Americans are black identified and identify as black. I don't. And then as with Beatrice's, the numbers she released earlier was that around 60% of Pardos in Brazil do not identify as black. So they have like the majority numbers on their side of those who identify as mixed, but it's the opposite in the United States. I'd say the pendulum swings differently. It's very bizarre. I would say over 80% of mulattoes in America identify as black and not mulatto or multiracial because a lot of them, they don't feel like they have an option because of the imposition of the one-drop rule, how strong and powerful with policy and the one-drop rule has been in our society in the United States. A lot of mulattoes feel lost. They feel like they just have to identify as black. They'll just be a mixed black or a light-skinned black or something like that. They don't conceive that they have another option. Everyone's lied to them and told them you just have to be black or white or this. You have to pick and choose. They don't understand that they've lied to them and didn't tell them like you have another choice. You have an option. I chose mulatto. It's working out great for me. So I kind of spewed a little bit because this video I want to give you the microphone. But yeah, I was just saying that I do see a lot of difficulties with mulatto Americans getting on board or on code, but it's all changing. And I feel like with my voice, my social media, especially what I'm doing now, when my audience, when these mulattoes, they see, oh shit, this guy went to Brazil and he's connecting with mixed people in Brazil. They're having a meaningful dialogue. It's going to inspire people. Their voices are going to be amplified. They realize, well, they have a voice. They have a community. So it's growing, even though there is difficulties. I still see this growing in the positive direction. So what are some challenges you see with Pardo people getting on the same page?
I think that there is a lot of situations here that we can talk about. How you say in United States, it's strong. The one-drop rule is strong.
Yes, it is very strong.
Here in Brazil, how I said, the mixed culture, to see mixed and identify their mix is stronger. So even with all these academic series being published and posted on media, you have these people that they just don't agree. They doesn't agree, and they don't want to agree. But a part of these Pardos that doesn't see it there as black, they are not engaged to race themes too. So they don't care. Oh, you are Pardo, yes. Do you think Pardo is black? And then they say no. But do you care about this question? Do you think about your condition as a mixed? Do you know what it means in society? Do you know what we suffer? Do you know what we need of rights? They don't know. They don't care. So part of the Pardos, they are like this. They are not engaged and they don't care about that. The other part is my audience that I'm trying to attract for me. That is this person that try to agree with Black movement and say, oh my God, they are right. It's better for us to say that we are black. It will be good, but they wasn't welcome. The Black movement doesn't hold them, so they felt really bad, and they come to me to give them an answer,
Sure.
to give them a way. How where do I go now? I'm not white, I'm not black, they doesn't accept me. I suffer racism from the white and the black movement. When I say I suffer that, they say, oh no, but you're not black. You're not that black. You're lying. Didn't suffer that. You are confusing. So they feel really bad about that, and they come to me and they find me. They search on internet and they are dead. But that is another group that is the most critical situation here. There are the Pardos who are Afrocentric, that they bought all these theories. They live this. They live like North Americans, you know. They live like they was born in the United States. They say light skin in English here. They say I am a light skin. No, you're not. Talking Portuguese, what you are. We have a word here to say that you are mixed. This word is Pardo, but they say light skin, especially on TikTok, this social media, and these people, they have this influence from the popular content that are made in United States, you know, the movies, the series that we see on Netflix, you know, so they have this influence and they're very strong, and they started to dress like hip hop. So it's very crazy because they say that they are connecting with the African roots,
the culture,
the African roots, but they are not connecting to African roots. They are connecting to North American movement, black movement.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. They're not coming back to anywhere. They are just being colonized again, but to another country, you know. So
that's a good point.
So they don't connect with African music and African theories. They connect with hip hop. They connect with R&B. You know, with this culture, and this culture have a lot of problems that here in Brazil we didn't have. Here in Brazil, our women straight the hair in the salon, or women use natural hair, curly hair, you know. And now, or my mom, her hair is really curly, and she for all her life was short hair. She wears short hair, you know. But now, black women inspired on the United States, they just shave the hair and are wearing wigs. It wasn't common in Brazil. We see black women wearing wigs, wearing fake hair all the time. And for me, this is not connection with Africa. You're not connection with your natural. You're wearing a blonde, straight wig.
And they're black and dark skinned.
Yeah.
And they're wearing a blonde wig. You're like,
exactly.
What's going on in the mind, you know?
Or mulattoes too. Now mulattoes
Sure.
are doing this too, you know. And here in Brazil we didn't have that. And we wear our natural hair, or the straight was straightening our natural hair, not wearing faking hair, you know. But now we have that because we are importing this culture from United States. And so we are not connecting with Africa. We are connecting with United States. And this is very popular on social media. So that is this part of the Pardos that live there.
Oh.
They're living like this, and they don't like what I do, and they say that I am just a young girl that doesn't know anything about life, that doesn't respect the black movement and the history of the black movement, and they make fun of me, you know. And have the academic Pardos, that they are similar to the pop one who are connecting with hip hop.
Yeah.
They can be the same group too, the same people, but they are really engaged and they really studied the content, you know, because the most part of people, the most part of people there are talking that they are just reproducing what they say on Twitter, you know. They don't read the theory of black movement, but they are copying United States and are making fun of me. But it's not deep arguments, you know, are just bad arguments like, you don't know what to say, except you're black, you're light skin just say shit, or white girl who thinks is black. I'm saying I'm Parda, but they say I'm a white
girl with a
white
tan,
girl who think is black.
Yeah.
There's no Pardo option, mixed option. So they say that, and it's not deep. They don't go deep in the arguments, but have this part of Pardos that they go deep in the arguments. So they started to talk about the reference and say that what I'm doing is not science, what I'm doing is fake.
It's not all facts, yeah.
Yeah, what I'm doing is fake, and I don't have the best reference. So they really take the study and they go deep, they go deeply in this situation.
I wanted to add on that, if you don't mind.
Let's go.
It's interesting because when we've been talking the past few days, like there's a lot of overlap, meaning there's a lot of similarities with a lot of the arguments or remarks that people give towards multiracial people once we develop our kind of own consciousness, our own way of thinking and processing the world and responding to kind of some of the hostilities that we see. So I'll take it from the Afrocentric side, right? Oftentimes what they'll say to people like me is, oh, you just want to be white. You don't want to embrace your blackness. And she's heard the same thing. It's very interesting. They're saying, and as she's alluded to, that it's because a lot of the social media and just popular media and nomenclature philosophies within academia, etc., in American society, North American, that stuff is promulgated and transplanted into the Brazilian consciousness. So you'll have a lot of Brazilians repeating the same talking points. The main one I get is they try to gaslight you with the fear and scare tactics. Where they'll say, oh, well, when the police pull you over, they're going to let you know that you're black. It's a very gross way to kind of look at blackness, but it's a lot of Afrocentric black people who will make those remarks. And it's one of their number one, I call it a Blackistan gaslighting tactic. It's number one, they'll tell you is, oh, you can say you're mixed. That's fine, you can be mixed. But at the end of the day, when the police pull you over, they're gonna let you know you're black. And I've already provided proof and evidence that I got pulled over before for speeding, and on the ticket that I was given, the officer is a white cop. He put Hispanic. He put H. He thought I was Mexican or Hispanic. And I gave another example before. When I was youngster, I was 16, 17, I was smoking weed with my buddies at one of the local parks. This is in California before weed was legal. And I got pulled over. I didn't get a ticket, but he made me squash my weed, my herb in my pocket. And I was hanging out with all these white guys. And then I remember the cop is a white cop. He asked me, he's like, wait, are you black or what are you? They don't ask black people, what are you? See, there's no confusion. See, they only ask ambiguous people, well, wait, how do you identify? What are you? So these are two interactions I give people. I tell them about with cops. So it destroys that whole argument about the cops or the police, that once they see you, they're going to look at you as black. It's bullshit. What if we get a black cop and they treat us like crud because we're mixed or they want to punk a mixed person? I'm just saying that argument, that gaslighting tactic, because that's the main one we get in the United States. And Beatrice is telling me that she's gotten it here in Brazil, that they have the similar kind of remarks to basically invalidate you, to say your opinion doesn't matter, oh, you just want to be white, or you don't accept your blackness, or the police are going to remind you that you're black. So, and they're not challenging you or critiquing you in an academic manner. They're basically trying to dissuade you using scare tactics, fear tactics, and also gaslighting you with a lot of silliness as well. I get a lot of comments I just chuckle at because I get a lot of stupid, silly comments. And I'm mentioning, like I said, the Afrocentric point because it seems to be on social media, we get the most engagement. You could say from our haters or whatnot would be from my observation, it's been Afrocentrics who are no, you have to identify with us and be in our group so we could use you, but there is the white side that looks at us and has fear of us, because as she was stating that in Brazil, there's a lot of the black movements who will push propaganda to say that, well, it's an agenda for mixed people to kind of whiten up Brazil. And I've heard that before, even before talking to you, from black extremists in the United States. They talk about Dominican Republic, which is a very mixed nation, and Brazil. There's a black extremist, I think his name was the Irritated Genie, he's a very, loudmouth black extremist in America, United States, and he said that before. Oh, they have a whole concept in Brazil where they want to whiten up the blacks. So they use that as an agenda. But what I'm saying is that there's also another part of that, and that's where I see where it's a lot of, not a lot, but there's a group, okay, of white people who are pro-white who will say that mulattoes are basically a representation to weaken the white race. So it's like it's serious implications when you're an individual like me who analyzes, observes this information, and you're sitting here like, well, shit. I have heritage from both of these groups. I represent a whole unique blend in my position that's independent from the two parent groups. But in order for mulattoes moving forward to be our own group and people, we have to be our own parents. And so that's primarily what I represent. But it's a conversation we could have for hours and hours. But yeah, I want to move on to, because we talked about how there's common, like I said, remarks, with pro-blacks will say, you just don't embrace your blackness, or the police can tell you it's black. But what me and you, mixed people, what we have both experienced is common for a lot of us is what we call colloquially the pro-black phase. I talked with her about this yesterday because I was like, oh, we have to talk about this because it's very common for us. We're mixed people. We go through a pro-black phase when we're trying to, mature and develop our identity. And we have, because she's biracial just as I am, and different kind of configurations, but for the most part we're very similar. And so like we're taking our parents, knowledge and inspiration and love and support, and we're trying to find sense in the world and who we are and how we belong. And it can be a little challenging for us. We're as we've matured as into adults, we're trying to, solve this, and I think we're doing a good job. But what I want to say is the pro-black phase. A lot of us is very common in the United States, and I talk to mulatto Americans, we all understand that. The pro-black phase is when you're in a point in your life where you are more pro-black. You get more in tune with African culture, African traditions and customs, and black people, African people. You're navigating their circles more. You're more like fighting for racial justice for black people. A lot of us have experienced that. She's experienced that as well. So I'm going to hand the mic over to her so she could talk about that, because a lot of us, we have had the pro-black phase. It's a very interesting phenomenon. A lot more of us have to express. So please tell me about your pro-black phase that you had, kind of briefly.
So let's go. This phase that I lived in my life, it was very important to me because how he said here in Brazil we had in the past, in the last century, in the same time that we had the racial democracy, people saying that here it was a racial democracy, we have this plan to whitening the population, and the government make easy to Europeans to come to Brazil because the racist theories started to say that Brazil doesn't work in talking about our economy, that because we were dark, it was a too dark society. So they started to bring these Europeans, and we already had in our culture, because of this colonizing, this thought that white is good and black is bad. So if you're mixed, you will always be compared, and people will always look at you and think, if you're light, it's good, it's better, you're beautiful, and if you're dark, it's like the 2 points that are opposite, and the mixed people are in the middle, always being comparing. And the one challenge that mixed people live here in Brazil is that we suffer racism, but we were unconscious about that,
Yeah.
Because there is this lie that people believe that mixed people doesn't suffer with racism, and it's very common here in Brazil, this mentality that mixed people doesn't suffer. So when a woman like me, a girl, that I was a girl when I lived this pro-black phase, when we find these theories that they are saying we are black, these Afrocentric theories that are very popular here in Brazil nowadays, we are not just reading you are black, we are reading you suffered some situations in your life because of your race. It was not because you are ugly, because you are boring, because it's not your fault, you know. We read that. But the theories could say that the things you live in your life, it was racist because mixed suffered racism too. But it's not the way they did. If you suffer, you are black. It's the same mentality that the argument about the cops, you know. If you suffer racism, it's because you're black, and not a lot of the racial diversity can suffer with racism. And I think this is very offensive to black people. Believe that being black is suffer violence, you know, police violence and other violence. So here in Brazil, the stronger argument to try to bring this theory that mixed are black is mixed suffer with racism. So if you talk to an Afrocentric person and you ask, but why Pardo are black? They started to talk a lot of arguments that say Pardo suffer with racism, you know. It's the same argument. They start to say because Pardo are in social vulnerability, because Pardo suffer violence of the police, because Pardo they have jokes about our hair, about our skin, so Pardo are black. They don't have any more arguments. It's just that. So when I found that, when I read for the first time, I connected with things that I lived in my life, with people hitting me and call me names like the N-word, you know. Here in Brazil we have a similar word to that. And for me and for Brazilian in general, it was like, no, but it was jokes. It was not racist because mixed don't suffer racism. So with you, it was jokes. You can't take it so serious. Doesn't matter. It was just for fun. So we didn't have power to defend ourselves without this identity they are offering to us right now, you know. So when I found that, it was a moment of an important moment for my life. I don't think it was bad, you know, because I look to my past and I think, oh my God, I suffered this stuff because of my race. The only problem is that it was distorted, you know, to say that I was black, but it was a really important moment. And there's a lot of Pardos in general here in Brazil that they are in this moment. Mm-hmm. They are in this moment that they read that and it heals something inside them, you know. It connected something inside them. They understand all violence they suffered, and they feel allowed to connect to the African part, you know. So when they see what I am doing, they think that I am breaking what they are starting to build right now, you know. So they can hear me. They go away, you know. Exactly. I just found myself right now, and you are coming with that shit. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
So I say to people, if I have Beatriz from Parditude, when I found myself black, when I realized that I was black, I would hate this girl. I would hate myself in the past because I understand.
Good point.
I understand this process of healing, you know.
Exactly.
And I am touching their pain. I am talking about things that it's very sensitive for us, you know. So I understand the moments of the people. I understand that is a lot of people that come being haters in my profile, and after some months they came back. Oh, now I understand what you were saying, because we were talking about people pain, you know, people hurt, what hurts on them. So this is the pro-black nowadays, and this is it's connected with the other question you said, that the challenge to make Pardo people be on the same page, because the people are very identify with that. No, it was what healed me. It's healing me. It was what explained me why I suffered this violence. So don't take it off of me, you know.
Right, exactly.
You understand?
Yeah,